We have one Zoom participant just joined
Okay,
and they
welcome.
can't hear.
Welcome. Yes, you can hear us now. And getting into concerns, this is the last slide. And again, a full report will come out so we can all read through that. But we talked about this. Losing character is something that we need to pay attention to. Equity and affordability is something we'll pay attention to. Access, traffic. How many cars are coming into here? Are there cars? Are there bikes? How does that all work? How do the safety issues work together? How do we redevelop in a safe way where it's easy to get into the site, easy to exit, and easy to move around? That's an important one. And also exclusive versus, say, inclusive, like a community-wide benefit, yes, or is it exclusive? So some people worry about
if there are no public-facing businesses, then
what does that mean? What does it become? So again, just a high level, we'll have a good report for you. Send out, but it's interesting. This is really the first moment we actually get truth, like feedback from individuals that are just learning about the site or know the site, and we're not involved. John Horvick did this with a focus group. It's kind of fun to watch it. So, and we have the videos too. So if you want to watch, it's 2 hours or so each. It's 2 of them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'll pause there. Any questions, comments, surprises?
I just have one comment. When I hear that hallmark feel, which can be a cheesy word, but a cheesy network. But it reminds me of okay, well, what's the history of our architecture in like Oswego? And I think of First Edition, which is like the fastest selling neighborhood in LO. It's like things go like that in that neighborhood. And it would be cool to maybe mimic that architecture down by the water and have that authenticity, but not have it be from 1920.
Sure.
Where, you have to deal with that.
Yeah.
And I just love the idea of kind of working with the history of like Oswego, or looking at some of the historic homes and like Oswego and kind of mimicking that architecture.
Yeah, it's a great idea. Like usually we do like maybe a character study, not only architecture, but it's also what other experience, like spaces are you experiencing? Is the street like dimension? Is the tree canopy? It could be lighting. Mm-hmm. All these other elements do contribute. But yes, the architecture is important, but also like that kind of great street. Like we're going to study that. That's a good thing to kind of inventory and then maybe spring over some of those elements.
Right, and like Oswego started as a resort town, I guess, where they were these tiny little houses because people didn't actually live here all the time. Yeah, that's correct.
Well, yeah, they went through a resort phase as well. They were, iron worker.
It started as an industrial town.
Okay, and then later resort. But it would be interesting to look at that too, and the lively waterfront sort of goes with that.
Yeah.
The existing conditions gets into a little of that. The full report about the history in terms of where living and playing became the key word that came out of Lakewood Bay as it became.
Well, even the development of First Edition and how that's changed even in the last 20 years, and the way the planning for the downtown and the higher density directly next to the retail and then pushing out to the single family. I mean, that has certainly evolved in First Edition. And if they're playing the relationship between those two, I think because of the need, or I think there will be a need for some denser down there opportunities. But it's just interesting to look at the way it's evolved. Right. Some people like that. Some people maybe not as much, but there was a lot of thought about how the compact shopping and the retail, and then how the density related to the rest of the neighborhood, and that will play in, I'm sure.
Definitely.
And there are design standards downtown. I mean, that's why the buildings look the way they do on First Avenue. They went through an iteration, and those design standards do evolve over time, and even the current standards are are shifting a bit, and that's pretty common, as Will mentioned. Sometimes we've worked in communities where you're not looking for a period of style that you're trying to replicate. In some instances, they don't really have true sort of memorable historic buildings, but they've got a kind of a similar form and scale that you can feed off of, and it can inform new buildings that come in. They don't have to replicate, but there's some basic things they can do well that some of these other buildings do that they can play off of. So there's a variety of different ways of looking at it. It's really hard to sort of pinpoint an architectural style or time. Santa Fe, New Mexico is one of the few kind of makes it work, but Leavenworth and towns that try to play the historic game is, anyway, we don't need to go down that path.
Yeah, I could probably give you a whole hour and a half presentation just on the latest Rio style and what's been working, what hasn't. There's a lot to talk about there, but that's for another meeting.
Yeah, we'll get there.
And has it been discussed how the library wants a new home and they want a bigger library, and maybe this could be a site for that and be a draw?
We've had some conversation with the library, not specifically about locating here, but certainly the discussion about their facility and the capacity of it and what future plans might be. And I think, as we're going to look at a variety of different opportunities. And I think something right now there's a waterfront park, but is there something that acts as more of a community space, whether it's a library or more maybe kind of event type use, or there's market type places are popular as well, sort of flex type buildings that can take on a variety of different users, sometimes retail, sometimes event based. So that's a component we'll explore for sure. And our market analysis will help give us some indication of what we might want to look at. There might be a capacity for certain types of uses that would fit well here. So yeah, we might get into that. So do we want to continue going?
Yeah, time check. Are we doing okay on time?
Existing conditions.
We're about 20 minutes behind schedule.
Okay,
speed up
a little bit.
So we've put together an existing conditions document, and part of what this work does is it looks at what we learned from 2012, or what the conditions were then that led to them making some decisions about the types of development and the framework they were building for a district. There's a ton of great information, in particular about environmental conditions, about flooding. And so what we've taken is what we learned from 2012, what we know from this current effort, which is changing the geometric slightly, because now we have a wastewater treatment facility moving over here, and that's going to open up land in an area that wasn't available before. We know that some of the connections in and out of the district, those ideas have changed because the wastewater treatment facility is being located in a path where a roadway was going to be. So we're able to look at a variety of different conditions, but we're still learning a lot from what was assumed before. We've gathered some new information based on a variety of different things. Traffic, for instance, we did another quick study to look at how that's changing over time. Around traffic, it really doesn't change much. 43 has a limited capacity. You're not going wider. And so you need to figure out ways that you can shift from a lot of auto driving to a variety of others, because that's the only way you're going to be able to address it. So,
and the traffic on 43 is less now than it was 25 years ago.
Yeah. And that seemed to be a trajectory that was evident in 2012 as well. So maybe that's a good thing. We learned a bit about the history starting back from the Missoula floods. Maybe everyone knows about that trajectory, to certainly the native populations who are still really connected to Tryon Creek. And so we're going to learn a little bit more about how the indigenous cultures are still actively engaged in Tryon on the Creek. And I think that's an important thing. And in a group we're actively trying to seek out to learn more. Great history about industry here, the foundry being a big one, and then, becoming lake and really a residential community. So we've learned a bit about history. This is our site conditions. We know our acreage and sort of the lay of the district from the North District into Oswego Point and the upper shelf, which is the commercial area first. So we're just sort of mapping all the conditions around the project area, the multiple jurisdictions that have authority. So that's kind of a laundry list of folks who have skin in the game, whether it's on the water, on the creek, or on Highway 43. Looked at a variety of different conditions around geotechnical in terms of stability of soils. We've got some certainty about that. We've done a full study on hazardous materials and what potentially may be affecting development primarily along the Highway 43 corridor. And of course, the fact that industry has been on the site for a long time. So we have a sense of where to look for some of those issues. The natural systems, we know a bit about the culvert project, the health of Tryon Creek. It's one of the statewide, it's probably top 12 of like important salmon run locations. There's some other factors that have it like 2 in terms of what it could contribute in terms of bringing back salmon population and lamprey eel up into this area off the Willamette River. So it is an important location for that natural system. Floodplain conditions. The flood map here really gives you a great indication for those folks who can see 1996 really kind of established, wow, that's 100-year flood plus. And the impact of that flooding, we can see how deep that goes into the district, primarily from Tryon Creek. So it wasn't coming up and over Foothills Park. It was actually backing up the creek and then working its way into the district. 2012 identified a system of cut and balanced cut and fill, meaning if you took soil off a high area and you placed it over here, as you cut, you create areas for flooding to go where that cut is. And you can take that soil and put it over here to create development site that's up and out of the water. So we sort of learned how that might work, where that might occur. And that's basically how 2012 was able to assume development area could really happen in that flooded area in the middle, because we're cutting from here, we're adding over here. Studies have looked at the initial, some of the park improvements have already created some excess water storage. So there's what's called credits for fill. So we'll be looking at what's the right balance and how much of developable area out of the floodplain we can actually create. That'll be part of the exercise to look at where development will occur. So let's go to the next one. Existing transportation. We've done some studies on Highway 43, looked at some key intersections. I think we all walked through it. Those of us who did our walking trails, so we get a sense of what it's like to be on 43, just the sound, but also the traffic. There are bus services, so we've mapped all that. Certainly there's good bus service up and down 43 and into LO. You know, hopefully if the population's right, that transit could extend into the district, that would be great, obviously, to be able to connect to that facility. The railroad, we know, is a huge player in all of this. We've looked at a number of access points from the previous study. So this driveway here was one of the initial points into the district. We've also talked about Terwilliger Boulevard and 43 as a potential access point. That's been studied either for car traffic or for just a trail and a bridge, pedestrian or bike bridge that would extend from Terwilliger across the river. So we're getting a sense of what is possible from a physical standpoint. And looking at a variety of different trail projects, potential pedestrian bridge over Tryon Creek from Foothills Park over to North Cove. That's a project that's in the works. So we're sort of inventorying all of those potential projects, and we'll roll those into this study as well. Utilities, there's a number of utilities that need improvements. The stormwater has some undersized piping that needs to be fixed. We know with the wastewater treatment facility, the sanitary sewer issues are going to be addressed. There's definitely capacity issues there, and the lift station is working harder than it needs to. Water is looking pretty good in terms of this potable water, drinkable water, that source, and infrastructure is pretty good. And we know that there's a couple of substations here that serve the downtown and part of this area. So those are existing elements that we'll need to address. Wastewater treatment facility is gonna tackle a lot of these in the stormwater as well.
Just quickly, that first bullet point said there's a pump station for stormwater.
There is. When there's flooding, there's a
when there's
pump.
flood.
Yes.
Okay. Not routinely.
Right.
Okay.
And that was doing double duty in 96.
I bet.
Yeah. You can see that the wastewater treatment facility was one of the non-flooded areas. Luckily.
Yeah.
But still some issues.
We're tracking the wastewater treatment plant project, and Jacobs, which is the consultant who's designing, building, will be managing that facility. And so that's an ongoing conversation, but so we're learning about what their goal is for the design of the facility. Our engineering team is also really interested in how we can be cognizant to not preclude the idea that the waste from this wastewater treatment facility can be used for energy. So there's some things that we can plan for now that don't preclude us from doing that in the future. The current facility isn't as robust in terms of being able to design specifically for that, but we do want to keep that conversation in the forefront because there really could be some value in having that waste actually become energy. So this seems like the time to consider that, and we're talking 30 years down the road. So hopefully that stays on the table. A variety of different policies are around this site. We know density is what is anticipated in this location. 2012 identified that. Some of the regulatory conditions have solidified that. So your comprehensive plan has a mixed use designation around this district, but zoning didn't occur. It's still industrial. The assumption was as industrial sites develop that they would take on the new zoning. And so that's all in flux and will be reassessed and re-identified as a part of this process. But we know that housing is anticipated in this district. We know that Metro and other jurisdictions see this as an extension of the downtown. And so we're looking at development that has a certain level of density to it and a mix of uses. Those are things that we need to look at from a policy perspective. So, market and development feasibility, I think very strong market here, regardless of other conditions, cost of construction, other things. This is still a pretty a desirable location for a variety of different types of development, housing in particular. So we begin to look at just kind of basic opportunities around the market here. Our economist has talked to a number of developers who have given their sort of insights on the difficulty or lack of difficulty in developing locally here. So we're getting a perspective of that, and also what they think of the Foothills district and or what it would take to get that property up and running. So we've been trying to get a sense of the market and development feasibility from a variety of different sources.
Those developer interviews are in our package, so our submission for existing conditions, so you'll see those.
Be interesting to read.
Yeah. Existing conditions about 124 pages long, and that's kind of a summary. We have a number of memos which have detailed information like around traffic or around hazardous materials. I think that's 1,400 pages of documents. I'm like, who does that? But there are some findings here, and this is sort of coming full circle. We've looked at a variety of different things. Intensifying the district from a regulatory standpoint, meaning your comprehensive plan, Metro, our regional government, sees this as a good site for housing and mixed use at a little bit higher density. We know that Oregon Department of Transportation, Highway 43, they are going to be pushing less hard on traffic control and traffic improvements and worrying about traffic capacity. They're going to be more emphasizing multimodal and wanting to create other opportunities in and out of the district, which is maybe a good thing. So we're not just focusing on riding all the time. We know the zoning will need to be updated. There's been kind of a model of what a mixed use district, where the geographic area might be for that and the extent of what you might put in that zoning code. So we have that as a reference. We'll be looking at multimodal access in and out of the district, trails, improved crossings over 43, walk, bike, big part, looking at a variety of different housing types, looking at how that trail network is continuous along the waterfront, and also maybe expanding the use and function of Foothills Park as to continue to be recreation and waterfront destination. And we'll look at a variety of different climate friendly things that we can do. Tree canopy is another big one for us that we really want to be cognizant of and work toward expanding that. You have, at least of all the cities in Oregon, you're in like the top 5 in terms of your tree canopy cover over your geographic area of the city. It's somewhere almost around 60%, 58%. The industrial area here is only about 22. So we have some work to up the ante on the tree canopy here. And another thing I learned about the tree canopy from the Tryon Creek folks is that cool water the tree canopy creates along Tryon Creek is these special songs, like salmon, native salmon still spawn and will go up even that 8-foot tall culvert that's there today. They're still working hard to get up there because it's the exact environment that they need. So widening that pipe, continuing the tree canopy, we know it's going to have some reciprocal benefits from something that's pretty unique. Like, I think we were really excited to hear how the salmon are just really trying to get up and in here in the Lamprey as well. So Lakewood Bay used to be called Sucker Creek, by the way, and it was full of lamprey. And that's one of the major food sources, both of early settlers and the indigenous culture. So go figure, it goes from Sucker Creek to Lakewood Bay. But anyway, those suckers are coming back. So it's cool.
Comments, questions? I'm going to run through the opportunities and constraints. Now, all this existing conditions, especially the constraints and opportunity, all drive or set us up for goals and visioning and just design in general too. We're learning a lot. The more we talk to people, the more we do research, the more we can craft and support the vision, the current vision that exists, but reshaping that, strengthening the vision statement, creating goals and guiding principles for design. And you'll start to see in some of those, at least initial moments of clues, essay clues that are going to help us make decisions on design. So this is what this is. So I'll just get into constraints first. And a lot of you have seen these, and we talked about them on our tour as well. Just access. We have 2 access points, really, potentially. They're constraining, but they're also opportunities. So that's what we like to do. We try to take the constraints and turn it into an opportunity. So we have the northern access constraint for the public storage facility access there, and then there's that single one to the south, where we started our tour. So that's documented. We know that. We're studying heavily.
I think you defined the public storage access. It was the least worst.
Yeah, it was the least. It was less bad, right? Exactly.
I don't know why it scores so high, but it does.
Yeah, I know. No, it's hard to get in and out of that one. The rail, obviously, and how to connect across this. Obviously, the rail has they're pretty strong member of the community here. They have things that they need to operate freight, and it's daily, maybe sometimes 2 or 3 times to go through here. We were hearing about the horns,
Early in the morning.
right? Exactly. So that's not on here, but we've got that on our minds. Wastewater treatment. So yes, constraint, but also opportunity. This is where it's going. This is where it's going to be relocated, and you can see how much land it takes. And the building itself is not the size of this. This is just the land that they need for operations. There's some of that will be stormwater. Some of that will be operations for circulation. Those trucks are still going to come in and out here. So, but that's the area confined to where they're going to operate. So we need to work around that. And there could be some overlap here as well in operation, but that's pretty much all they need. Also, some existing above grade equipment to remain. You can see that. So that's a really great start of where can we build? Okay, well, not here. We're going to be good partners, though.
Can I ask just a quick,
yes,
just maybe a stupid question, but the treatment facility, I don't know how the funding and how that works, but are they allowing for their transportation of those trucks to get up to
Columbia Boulevard? Yeah.
Yes. I mean, is that part of their
their work. They do. They indicate where those trucks need to come in and out.
But in the new facility, the infrastructure needed to move the trucks, do they have some participation in that?
As far as dovetailing with what we are learning?
I mean budget.
Oh, I see, budget.
I mean, their assumption is they're going to tie into Foothills Road.
Okay.
That's what they do too.
So
they're not
just,
assuming
they're not,
anything different. So they're gonna
Heard.
weave
Okay.
their way back to
Thank
the
you.
foundry
That's
entrance.
kind of like a
Yeah.
U-shaped route, so to certain touch points. with
Okay, I was
Foothills.
just
They're gonna create
Like
a
if they
road
had some extra
around
money.
it, around the
Okay.
current, the
I
new
understand.
facility.
We're hoping that our
Yeah.
work will enhance
Sure, of
that
course.
access.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think they have any extra money. I think. that's
Okay,
safe to
I'm
say.
just, sorry, I
Scrounging
just-
together.
And it's kind of hard to plan what's this
Yeah,
future
Sure, sure.
connection.
I was-
The good thing is that
We do talk to them. They want to talk to us. They are out, they're on a schedule.
Right,
We're trying to coordinate as much as we can, but this is a project they're trying to, they need to get built. So
right.
we're trying as hard as we can to dovetail some of the work that we're going to do with their operation as much as possible.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just trying to connect a couple dots. That facility location is within the 100-year or the 96 flood area. I'm
Yes.
Not familiar enough with the studies and everything that's been done on the treatment plant, but are they looking at the balance cut and fill?
Absolutely.
So they're taking up some of the capacity?
Right, so the little triangle part of their property is where they might dig down. This idea of cutting here will create water storage, flood storage. And they'll be able to take that soil where they lower the land area and they'll put it over here to get a flat site
Right.
for their.
But
at
they're
least for
doing
But
their
they're
building.
allowing for their own, is
Yeah,
that?
within
sure.
their own boundaries.
Within their
yeah.
footprint.
Yes,
exactly.
okay.
They are to an extent kind of utilizing the district-wide analysis. I know that
Oh,
there's
some
kind
of
of
that.
so they've done a number of studies that look at sort of different sort of cut fill scenarios for that site and where that could be coming from. But just, a long way of saying that they are able to take some credit for Foothills Park having sort of cut in a little bit extra since the existing facility was constructed. So it is a district-wide look, and they are taking some credits from off-site as well. But for the most part, it is
Some or all of them?
there is a lot of balance on that side.
No, I mean, in terms of the credit that came.
How much are they?
Yeah,
I can't tell you exactly how much because I think they're still working on that.
so I mean, just
There were
roughly, there was
different
an over, if I understand correctly, the park created some extra capacity.
Right,
Are they
yeah, so
using
they're
all of it?
utilizing the extra
All
capacity,
of it,
yeah,
okay.
and I think there'll be a need for us to create some additional capacity likely with the existing site.
But one of the questions we're interested in asking is, if you're already doing this cut to create
Right.
stormwater, could we look at enhancing that, adding additional capacity to it?
Mhm.
Is that feasible? Meaning, so that other development areas could then tap into that as their stormwater collection area. So it's a part of a conversation, but right now they're really focused on their boundary. That's
So when we want to raise our stuff too, right?
Well,
So
exactly, you're not
there's a
gonna-
road that needs
It's
to
gonna be
raise
a big
up
limitation.
that they need to get onto.
Yeah,
So they can't be up there and we're down here. So we have to share the network somehow. Yes, that needs to happen. Topography. So this is definitely, again, we're starting to realize where we can and cannot build. Obviously, this is on the peripheral. There's a big change from downtown down to the foothills as well. So we're acknowledging all of the terrain that exists here, just to help us understand connectivity and whether it's bike or walk or vehicular. That's an important piece, especially when you want to try to get down and traverse that topography from the 110 elevation down to the 32. That's a big drop. Sensitive lands, we'll want to very much protect these. And like you talked about, and Lamprey, the delineation is there. That natural resource is here. Sensitive lands. It's not really impacting our ability to develop. I mean, a little bit where the existing water treatment is on the plateau, I guess I call it. But we're going to stay away from it. We want to protect that. And then also the riparian buffers. So they also take a space in this as well. Obviously, we want to definitely stay away from that dotted line and then Tryon Creek, just to be aware that there's a buffer there and protect that as well. The flood. So this is also another version of that 96 flood. The white line is where the water came in and how it was inundated and it affects the land. So yes, that water treatment facility currently is in that zone. We hopefully want to mitigate that.
They won't be able to remain in that zone.
they won't be able to what?
They won't be able to remain in the floodplain with their construction.
Yeah, right, but that, I mean, if that's accurate, then the the existing treatment plant is the only place that's available above the floodplain.
You got it. Yeah. And it is 10, 15 feet up from.
So at that point in time, that's our opportunity for balanced cut and fill, and that's about it.
Well, the soils tests say that that's rock. That is rock. So you might be able to take
Not a lot
some
of balanced cut and fill going on with rock.
So,
But
yes.
2012 calculated, looked at,
Did they? Okay,
Yes,
yeah, I didn't
and-
do that.
and as you know, I mean, 2/3 of kind of that core industrial area between Foothills Road and Oswego Point condominiums, 2/3 of that was kind of in the fill area. And then there was a lower portion where development could occur, just knowing that you're gonna need to lift the lower, so they weren't bringing the soil up, they were just getting the structure out of the floodplain. So, but that may be more of the strategy.
It seems pretty limiting.
Do we know how far below the floodplain that low area is?
Yeah. The
37 is where we need to be.
we're at
for
32.
development.
We need to be at 37.
So about 5 feet, 5 to
Okay.
6 feet is
Yeah.
generally what the fill
So lots of understory parking.
could be.
Well,
Yes.
that's, yeah, if we
Use
don't
that
fill
parking
it,
out.
then
Right.
Floating cars.
Right.
Chitty chitty bang bang.
Yeah. This diagram is evolving property ownership participation, those who are willing to be open about conversations here about maybe participating in the development. Those that are not, I think this is again evolving. We have to really continue to talk to the property owners to make sure that they're, what's going on, keeping them abreast of our planning and just having conversations with them and making sure we can evolve this diagram to figure out who would like to participate, who is willing to engage in some conversations and things like that. So
Just a thought in terms of economy of effort. The condominiums will be virtually impossible to redevelop because each condo is individually owned. Across Foothills Boulevard are the apartments, which has one owner. I would focus your attention on the one owner.
Sure.
yes, we've learned that too. Yes, thank you. Opportunities. So this is the fun part. Points of access. So we've talked about the southern existing access to the foothills likely will remain but be enhanced. The northern, that's the one we're having fun with. We're not sure which one we like. So there's that one that you said was the least bad, but then maybe there's another one, potential access off of Terwilliger Boulevard. Again, these are just ideas. There might be another one in here as well, but those seem like they're the obvious ones that could potentially work. At least they're opportunities that we want to study. There's obviously impacts with that second one to the south, public storage. It's hard to kind of get in there. That's a profitable business. That kind of storage is pretty rare around here, and so lots of community members are using that facility. I think it's full
storage with a nice view.
Yeah, I know exactly. So that's a constraint and an opportunity there. So we're going to continue to assess that access point. So this is a good example of, that wastewater treatment is moved now, and this is the potential fill area. And previous fill there, that community to the south is above the floodplain, but that potential fill outline exists. That's what we would try to fill. Again, the existing wastewater treatment facility is raised up, so there's no issue there. But that middle line, that orange line, would be that point of influence there for potential fill. This is a fun one. We talked about the culture of trees here, the expanding of the tree canopy, and again, looking at the character of these neighborhoods that we have here, trying to bring that type of character here. A tree canopy goes a long way, and that has lots of benefits, as we know. So we want to fill and enhance tree canopy in this area, especially in those residential neighborhoods or the street network that we develop. Enhancing ecological connectivity. So this is really about what we talked about with the salmon, and trying to think about ways to preserve and enhance habitat We are on the river and the creek here, so that becomes a really big deal, a big driver for design. We're going to have a close relationship with the natural environment. So just paying attention to those systems is really important. And we're going to continue to integrate the natural system into this as well. So in that regard, it might become maybe a new kind of character, maybe similar to what you have, but now because we're on the water and because there are natural systems here, those techniques that we design to enhance those systems might look a bit different as far as urban development. We're not sure yet. Maybe green roads, maybe swales, maybe other habitat corridors could exist here as well. So looking forward to exploring those ideas. Destination, riverfront destination. So even just like enhancing recreation, reconnecting other communities along the river and thinking about the ferry is fascinating. And even connecting the lake to the river. Like that is a fun connection to kind of think about. That relationship, they're close. So just encouraging connections along the Willamette is really great. We've heard a lot from the focus groups and the conversations we've had about destinations here, and not only getting from downtown to that destination, but maybe you arrive here from the water. That's a whole new gateway and entrance to your town here. So thinking about reconnecting is an interesting one. Also, the trails are at the heart of this. I think trails are here to be connected. And there's a lot of like, oh, it just stops. So a lot of opportunity here to really connect through Tryon Creek to the Cove, to the Terwilliger, the trail, to the lake as well. So this is exciting. This is a fun one. Just making sure these are safe, well connected, and easy to get to, easy to be connected to. Also, that one that goes all the way down to George Rogers Park as well. This is an interesting, a fascinating one. Connections to neighborhoods across the river. And is there potential there? Park, to other parks along the Willamette from the other neighborhoods across the way. And it could be any number of ways. I want to mention gondola again, a bridge, could be a boat, a ferry. Hey, what do they do in Venice? Have one of those that just goes right across. What are they called? That's a gondola.
Yeah. On crossing the Willamette of some way, the farther you will get away from the river, the more you're in favor of it.
Okay, you're right.
Well, because I was involved with the Oak Grove Lake Oswego bike connection, and to be a little less than eloquent, I had my ass handed to me.
That's no good. Noted. Thank you for that. And again, these are just opportunities that we see and discovery phase, and we will definitely filter these out. Arriving by water, we mentioned that, like 2 gateways. That's kind of fun. And we just love this idea about the ferry. And people who maybe come from Oregon City or maybe from, maybe they commute from St. John's. All of a sudden you're arriving here by the water. So that's always a fun thing to talk about. So that's the opportunities and constraints. There's, again, when you see the package, there's going to be a little bit more information in there. A lot of good narratives about each of these. Also, we continue to build these because we continue to learn. So there's going to be lots more opportunities and constraints that we will discover along the way. And they'll all be categorized in the story map, which is going to be online. It's a living document. So we're going to continue to use this to add the visioning, add the goals, add the design guidelines, guiding principles. We'll add the alternatives, concepts, all of that will be here. Jason, you had an idea about getting into this. Did you have an idea of how to do that?
We would probably have to have it queued up. I mean, how else would we?
I mean, I could try to log in.
If you can do that, do you want me to? Can I provide you some information to help you log in?
Yes, I'd like to show it.
Teams and see what.
Here, I have a website of it. Just grab it.
Okay.
Let's see if this works.
Just time check, it's 7:13, so we have a little over 15 minutes to get through the rest of the presentation. So we might want to try to try to get the story as much as we can.
Yeah, just a quick scroll through them. Everyone feel free to comment or ask questions as we move along. Are there any comments now? I mean, any comments folks have in mind, or the information you've seen today? I know it's kind of a lot. It feels like it's just a wormhole, but yeah, if there are any thoughts I just want to bring up. Go
I
ahead.
appreciated your comment about maybe exploring some type of circulator bus or that type of thing to help with people coming in and out of the district. Kind of a sustainability option, perhaps. So I'm pleased that that's on the radar as a possibility.
Yeah, we should look at that.
That's, I'm gonna add that in the Parks 2040 and the SAB meetings, that comes out time and time and time again. Just even getting to receive skate park and, you know, stuff that goes all, circular that goes all around the city.
Right.
It seems like there's some groundwater and soil contamination down there from the industrial uses. Are there broader plans on how to deal with that?
I mean, they would be on a, yeah, I think as you look at what the development framework is, and let's say there's 3 or 4 properties that are like together would help create a redevelopment area, then it's important to look at, what are the mitigation factors around the environmental conditions that we need to address, and that may be working with those property owners and or thinking about acquisition. These are things that once you sort of know where the path of development is, then you know how to react to specific areas that may have contamination or other issues.
Has it been delineated pretty specifically, or is it still unknown?
It's unknown, you know, until school's been dug. A lot of this is just perception. Like, we know a certain use that's been there, and we know the conditions that likely could produce hazardous materials. So there hasn't been, you know, in-depth borings and studies, and most of it has been sort of a desktop review of conditions historically of things that have occurred and or businesses that likely would have left some level of contamination. We wouldn't know the extent.
Yeah.
It's story map, and it's pretty long, but it's interesting. Like, there's lots of great information here, stories, histories on here as well. The intent of this project, timelines. There's also survey questions that we can gather information along the way. Every so often there are 3 or 4 questions, like, who are you? Like, are you a visitor? Are you an employee? Things like that. It's always good to know who's in here. And just questions about what words describe or capture the identity of the Foothills. Similar questions that we asked the focus group. But I think getting this data along the way as people learn more about this project, and these are the things that we just went over as well. Existing conditions is here, opportunities and constraints are here, and there's tabs that you can get to. Here's the history, land shaped by water and time. So lots of different things that are happening here that people can learn more about. And again, questions along the way as well. And it's pretty fun. It's fun to learn more about this project and the recent past as well. 2012, some snippets of that are here. Who owns what is in here? And there's the list. And these are all the different types of mapping that we pretty much went through that people can learn about. And there's even more here that we can learn about. And so we feel like this is a pretty good way to engage communities. We could use this as a landing page for gathering more information. And then, you know, like this, like, where's the sun? Like, that's cool. Where the winds come from, north, south during the year. That's all important. Because if it's solar design, we could think about orientation of the grid, reduce energy loads and all of that. So, and there's topography. So it's all here, and we're just going to continue to add to it. And here's the soils test. There's weak soils here. There's other categories of soil, which helps us design. So, we can, you know, it's under review, so we can, as soon as we get this up online, distribute that first, let you take a look at it. Or if you're deciding on process, but this is all ready to go, and we can add questions too. If you see something that we need to know, need to learn, we can definitely add those questions to this.
Yeah, I think one, we have some ideas for the types of feedback that we would be asking for along the way here. How do you interact with the district? What is your relationship to Foothills Park, et cetera? And I guess just wondering what, the group's kind of thoughts were on that, if there's anything you think is really important at this particular stage when we are talking about the existing conditions primarily. It is relatively technical, and that we're just providing a lot of information, and a lot of it is like, we know what's under the ground. We're not really, asking for more information than we already have, because we have a ton of this technical information. But what should we be asking folks about for this type of project phase, I suppose? Do you have any ideas about what we could put in there? We might have already done that, but just wanted to, I guess, pose that to the group.
I would kind of wonder how we capture younger folks' opinions and ideas about use, just in the sense of the potential length of this project. And as much as I want it to happen quickly, it's obviously going to take a really long time. And I think it would be interesting to know how younger Oswego think about what they might see here. And I know it's hard for you to say, are you going to be living here in 15 years or 20? But I mean, I just think approaching that group, and I'll have to think about that a little bit, how you would gather some, but it does seem like such an interesting opportunity for us. And I don't, when you look at all the material, we're drilling down onto this, but it is a big deal. I mean, we're thinking about something that really will be a big part of our future. So it would be nice, and I think helpful to have some of that kind of thinking.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think obviously we're lucky to have two individuals under the age of 18 that are on our committee here. But in addition to that, we're doing a lot of sort of like stakeholder interviews and going out into the community and trying to find some more information on how to reach these groups, such as kids or folks under 18 that might not typically be engaged in these types of planning efforts. And so it's not just focused on that, but we are getting some good information about, it's overwhelming just how well organized the populations are through the high schools and different sort of student unions and groups. And, I think should at least give a bit of a plug that Jason and Will are going to be speaking to the Youth Leadership Council tomorrow night. And that's something that is...
Make a TikTok.
That's one.
I don't know.
At least like
we're going to try and make it fun tomorrow. We still have work to do to deliver on that, but we're committed to it.
Definitely use the number 67.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the YAC, there's a number of groups, with youth as the cohort that we want to tap into. And
I even mean like young professional too. I feel like maybe the chamber, there's a little bit of an opportunity there, but that age category too.
The chamber is starting a new group for young IT professionals. It's going to be, I don't know, the 20s and 30s crowd. So the idea being that those are the ones that are coming back to town.
Right, exactly.
That are trying to figure out how to get back to the town they grew up in.
And potentially that could be a place starting out you could be living. So just
the adult community center is another group too. We're tapping into how is this place a resource for recreation or just connecting with people, and or could that be a place you move into as you get older? So I think we are trying to reach out and be as diverse as we can. First, what we're doing is just talking to people who are connected to a variety of different organizations and groups and saying, hey, what's a good place to meet these people where they are, and what types of information, what are different ways that we can present this project to them in a way that we can get kind of genuine feedback. And so we're kind of learning what those different venues are and the different ways to do it. And we're totally like happy to explore any number of different ways of doing that. So
What about?
and have it throughout the process. So
Yeah.
now as we just identify challenges and opportunities, but then when we're looking at preliminary concepts, so looking at the full breadth.
And this is certainly a good tool that we can engage and initiate that discussion, use to initiate that discussion, but it needs to be ongoing. But sorry, Karen.
Well, Lewis and Clark College is so close. I don't think they have dorms there, so I don't know where all those kids live, but that's probably a good, with the law school and everything, like an 18 to 26-year-old demographic.
Well, and the question with high school students or young adults and that they may not know where they're gonna live.
Sure.
But what would make you want to come back to live here? Like what would make this a place that you would choose, right?
Or even your experience of growing up here and how often you
Yeah.
access the
Yeah, that
waterfront
too.
or
Yeah.
the independence of being able to ride the bus or safely bike around. Like,
Right.
like I loved that freedom as a kid, or
Or
just
if you're at Lewis
understanding
and Clark,
that
would you
current
love the ability to
jump
bike?
out.
I was gonna say,
straight
would there
down
be
to the
something to
river?
jump off of in this?
There's a lot of kids that are kids, I should not say.
Yes.
Barrels,
Many
I
kids
mean,
who've
we
actually taken the Tryon Creek tunnel through underneath.
Yeah.
A culvert?
It's 400 feet long. It's 8 feet tall.
Yep.
Apparently, some kids who've done it. Okay, I figured on a dare.
And lived.
Had to have gone through that. Well, the Tryon
Oh, God.
waste, the
I pretend they don't know that.
the watershed folks love it. They go in there yearly.
Yeah.
Invited us.
Apparently there's a lot of
Hmm.
cool
Where?
Canadian.
Into the culvert.
Oh, the
8-foot
culvert?
culvert,
No
yeah.
big deal.
Have you done it? I know you like to walk the
I'm
train
sure
tracks.
you
I didn't know
have.
you were doing the culvert
Yeah,
as
I've done
well.
that several
Oh,
times.
perfect.
Of course.
How long does it take to,
Pieces of this
how long does it
area,
take to
right?
get through the culvert tunnel?
Well, not very long, 30 seconds maybe.
Oh, it's that quick. Okay,
Yeah,
400 feet
it's just
and you're hustling.
400. You gotta go underneath the 43 and then up into Tryon Creek and you're out. No big deal.
Yeah.
Just
Can
kicks
you,
those salmon
can you
out of the
see
way.
light at the end?
Kick the salmon
Can
out.
you see light at the end?
Take
Use
them
the
up,
train approach.
Joe. Take 'em.
Just step on-
All right, I mean,
step on the egg.
I'm gonna do it.
We'll have to take a
I'm
field
gonna do
trip,
it.
a committee field trip.
Take
I
your
don't know
iPhone
when.
and turn the flashlight on.
Yeah. I can do that.
Well,
Today
in
would have
the,
been a good day.
in the time we have remaining, are you
finished?
finished or did you want to add anything else about the project story map?
Brandy, can I thank you for just helping us going forward as a group. I think the sooner we can identify the infrastructure, not only will it benefit us in terms of being able to say, okay, with this infrastructure, it fosters this kind of development. And secondly, it makes it easier for developers, and this is gonna be a long-term process, for them to say, okay, we know where the roads are gonna be, we know where the pathways are.
Yeah.
So anything that can be done to assist getting us to where the roads in particular, but all the infrastructure, I think will make this.
To identify infrastructure.
To identify the infrastructure, because then you can start putting a handle on dollars.
And connections.
The the connections, yes,
seem
yes.
like a very high priority because it can't do anything if it can't get to it.
That's right.
I
Yeah.
feel like connections in all of this weaves to the top of our.
I like the bike ped connection between Tryon Cove and Foothills is, I mean, that's a piece of infrastructure. If we know that that's gonna be high on our list.
Yeah.
If we know that it's gonna be, we want a fast in and out for all the trucks coming into the wastewater treatment plant, okay? That defines where a road may go.
Mhm.
If we get that defined, then we can start getting into the other things, all of which we're talking about that we wanna see, so.
Yeah. Yep. Part of it is just physically figuring out what's feasible, doable, and then thinking about what the capacity is for development in the spaces that you create where things can go. And then you begin to prioritize the costs of that infrastructure and what it can leverage in terms of opening certain areas of valuable land for development. But the timing is a huge thing on this because a wastewater treatment facility needs to go from here over to here, and they can't turn off the old one until the new one is up and running. So we know that, but doesn't mean that there aren't other parts of the
But
district.
I wouldn't use that as an excuse because we know where the new wastewater treatment
that's
plant
true.
is. So
Absolutely.
we know where the road has to go to do it. So
Sure.
I would push back on saying the wastewater treatment.
Oh,
plant
sure,
timing
it
slowing us
is a
down.
timing,
Yeah.
well, it is to a certain.
It's
respect,
slowing us
because
down for
developers aren't
development.
gonna be 2 years in.
But not for laying out the infrastructure.
Sure.
Well, in the spirit of discussing opportunities and constraints, even though it may not be part of our charge as a committee, I did want to add to our agenda just a short discussion of the urban renewal plan timeline. This was something that was raised at our first meeting. There have been some discussions, I think, outside of our committee. And maybe, Eric, you could kind of give us an overview of this topic and what our constraints are.
Yeah, ultimately, I think there's an ongoing conversation about what it will look like to close the existing East End redevelopment area, the urban renewal area that exists downtown. There are some properties that we would like to include from that urban renewal area in our new urban renewal area that we're thinking about for Foothills. And so the idea is to not sort of shrink wrap the urban renewal area to the district that we're looking at, but to also try to capture some developments that we anticipate occurring in downtown as well, to be a little bit more creative with how we do that.
And those developments will add value.
And those developments will add
contribute to the
revenue
increment.
and everything to the district and help it function economically. So yeah, I think, there's still an ongoing conversation. The schedule is to sort of, once the plan has been developed, to, take the sort of projects infrastructure that we determine are good ideas and should be included with an urban renewal plan for our work here, and translate that into the actual urban renewal plan list of projects. The current schedule would have that taking place by the end of 2027. And I think just in general, there have been some conversations about like when the new urban renewal plan could get going based on the timing of the existing urban renewal area across Highway 43. So, I think that one is scheduled to officially close in 2028. So it is kind of something that had a specific, I think, 40-year timeframe, 30-year. It was 40, yeah. So anyway, the 40-year timeframe is actually coming to an end. And the question is, could we do anything to include some of the properties we know are likely to develop, like North Anchor, for instance, in time to capitalize on that for the Foothills area. So we're still thinking about that. It's not necessarily one thing that we had envisioned taking place in terms of the timeframe of this project, but it is an opportunity that we're, not closing off or anything like that. But just to clarify, it is kind of outside of the scope of what we're talking about as a group, the timing of that in particular. But, I think we still have a long way to go, as you're likely noticing here, to actually talk about, are the projects that we're going to recommend going to be vastly different than what we recommended in 2012? And I think there's a high likelihood that we'll have some different takes. So we don't know exactly what we're going to want to include in that plan yet. So it's kind of, it's a little bit early to talk about expediting it too incredibly much. But to the extent that we could capitalize on that financially, I think there's been openness. So anyway, just wanted to bring that update to folks. Not much of an update, I guess, just to note that it's an ongoing conversation, but we're still kind of, using the schedule that was determined for this particular project. We have a large grant from Metro, and I've been talking about this for quite a while, and consultants on board. So it's hard to change that too much at this point in the process. But yeah, as Jeff, you were noting, I think a lot of us that have become more familiar with this information are just kind of itching to get to like designing and talking about what's going to actually happen down there and what we can do and what's feasible. So I appreciate your patience and talking about all these existing conditions. There's a lot to unravel and to unpack, lots of layers, lots of interesting sort of confluences, obviously, of the river, but lots of different systems kind of have a really important relationship to this area. So I think that's really important for us to understand as a group. I'm glad we were able to get through this information in an hour and a half roughly, because it's a lot. And you'll obviously have a lot more to unpack once we distribute the additional kind of documents with the 100+ page documents with lots and lots more information on what we covered today. So with that being said, I just want to again thank you all for coming out here in person. This is a great turnout. I think we had Keeley remote as well. So we have a lot of all of us in person, but still trying to accommodate remote hybrid meeting here, but I think it's going to be a space that we'll continue to utilize. So I think we're going to try to stay here to the extent that we can for our future meetings, and maybe use this a little bit more routinely. I just want to note one thing that was distributed for the site tour, the second meeting that we held, that we didn't have a chance to go over, but it's just kind of the outline of meetings for the CAC. That includes upcoming meeting dates as well. And just briefly say, we're going to sort of transition from the opportunities and constraints phase right now, and the existing conditions phase, into more visioning and talking about goals for what we want to see down in the area at our next couple of meetings. So we're trying to split it up into 2 meetings. The first one will be on January 13th, and the second we're planning for February 10th. So you can see a little bit more in terms of other dates that we have scheduled out. We have, I think, at least 6 of the first 6 meetings of the committee. We've attached dates to those meetings. So just want folks to be aware that we have that information and some ideas about what we talk about at those meetings. So just want to make sure that didn't go overlooked.
Thank you.
Eric, is there a timeline for distribution of the documents?
You know what? We don't have a specific timeline for that, but mid-December is the idea, so fairly soon. Yeah, so I mean, the documents are basically in draft form, so that as soon as this internally kind of take an in-depth look at it, yeah. So, Kara.
Hi, looking ahead, that March 24th date is the middle of spring break of the public school. So I'm sure youth members won't be here. Some of us that have school age kids probably won't be able to attend, so that's gonna be.
Yeah, we might be able to change that at this point. Yeah, the ones that are a little bit further out than January and February are still kind of, we can do that. So we can, I would point out, we only have 2 really days per month that we can meet. So I might have to push it into April or something. So regardless, though, I think I appreciate you bringing that up here.
You can go remote from Hawaii, can't you?
You definitely
I'm just kidding.
Randy, to add on, I mean, Eric knows this because I've been pushing on him, but thank you for letting me do so. Just the scale of the dollars, Keely mentioned at the last closing comments at the last meeting, well, $100 million worth of infrastructure costs. And the importance on the timing on the 2 districts of getting the North Anchor project into the new district at its lowest possible value, which could mean as much as $15 million of bonding capacity for infrastructure. And I don't think that's something we want to be able to walk away from.
Good, okay, thank you. Any other business do we need to transact this evening?
No.
All right, well, thank you all very much for being here in person, and our meeting is concluded.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Keely.
Let's do the big guy. The worst to be the bad.